Hey, how you doing today? Give everybody a second to get online and to make sure that everyone can hear me. So if you can hear me and if you can see me, make sure that you let me know in the chat. Uh, Today, we're going to be talking about the future. The future is a lot of fun. So it's great that you guys have joined us in the English is Fun community. So, again, if you can hear me, if you can see me, then make sure that you let me know in the comments section. And then we will get started. So yeah, it would be great. If you guys are excited to talk about the future today, let me know. And let me know if you have any questions about the future, because I know that it can be a very difficult topic to discuss. And, you know, a lot of people have difficulties with it. So again, if you can hear me and if you can see me, make sure that you let me know about that by leaving a comment and saying, hey, Kris, I see you and I hear you loud and clear. So guys, still waiting just a couple of minutes for everyone to get in. I see there's a few people here. And looks like, okay, Alfonso wrote, hello. Evgeny wrote, hey, Kris. Hey, everybody, great. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks. Okay, great, I see everybody's here. Everybody sees us. All right, great. So we can go ahead and get started. So guys, I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about who I am in case this is your first time here with us. And then we will start on our topic today. Last week, we talked about verbs of the senses. So you can go to my YouTube channel, or you can go to my page and you can find out more about that. You can watch the video from last week. Every week, I do a live video here in the English is Fun community. So if you haven't done so already, go to the page, go to the community, go to the group, and press like so you don't miss future live videos that we do, just like this one. And today's topic is how to speak about the future in English. And we're going to talk about lots of different ways to talk about the future and how to use it correctly. Because a lot of people think that the future is very easy in English, but actually there are several different ways that we can talk about it. I see a comment right now in the chat. Where are you from? Thanks for that question, Virginia. I am from the United States. Right now, I am in Tampa, Florida. And actually, I've lived in a lot of different places around the world. So I can't say that this is my home, but this is where I live now and my family lives. So I'm from Florida, let's say that. I've also lived in Italy, in Hawaii, in Ohio, in Rhode Island, in West Virginia, in Germany, and in Russia. So yeah, I've been around. So in case you guys don't know who I am, my name is Kris Huntley, or Kris Amerikos. You can find me just by Googling English with Kris Amerikos. I also have a page on Facebook called English with Kris Amerikos. So you can find me there. And lots of different people have told me that, you know, that my YouTube videos, I release a new video every day. And people tell me, you know, it's a great resource. So make sure you join the YouTube channel and make sure you join our Telegram channel, because I release a free video there every day too. And a little bit about me. I have been teaching English for about 9 years, and I have a language center in Russia, a physical offline language center. I also teach English online. And if you want to find out more about that, you can send me a message. You can add me to your friends, by the way, if you want to follow my page. Just go to my page on Facebook and press add. And then you'll be able to see all my updates. And I also recruit teachers for language centers in different countries. I've worked with some schools in China, in Russia, in Ukraine. So write me if you have any questions about finding teachers for your business. I see another question here from someone. How old are you? I'm 31 years old. So I'm an old man already. I also teach a course on how to start your own language teaching business. So again, if you're interested in any of my products, lessons, anything like that, courses about pronunciation or other things, send me a message and that'll be great. I see another question. Who are you by education? Good question. So I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in international relations, and I also have a certificate to teach English as a foreign language. So enough about me. Let's start talking about our topic today, which is the future, and talking about the future in English. So the first thing that we're going to do when we talk about the future in English is let's talk about the easy future. Actually, today we're going to talk about 3 different types of future, or 3 different ways that we can understand the future. And the first one is easy future, just the easiest information to learn the future fast. Then we're going to talk about the correct future, because using the future in an easy way isn't always the correct way. And then after that, we're going to talk about how to speak about the future in an advanced way. So that's a little different than doing it in an easy way. Great. So I see that Yana has joined us. Hi, Yana. Thanks for watching today. And so first, let's talk about the easy future. Now, when I say the easy future, I mean the way that you can learn it the easiest and use it so that people can understand you. So there's an easy way to use the future so everyone understands. It's not always correct. In fact, it's usually not correct, but everyone will understand us. And that way is by using will and won't. So you might know these words already, will and won't. When we use will and won't, people understand that we're talking about the future. It's the easiest way to talk about the future. So we can say things like, I will come home after work, or I won't come home after work. Won't means will not. So will and won't are an easy way to tell people that we're speaking about the future. Sometimes people say, how can I understand the pronunciation of the word won't and the word want? Right? Sometimes it sounds a little similar, especially if you speak a different language. Well, for me, these 2 words sound very different, but there is an easy way that we can understand when someone says the word won't with the letter O, and when they say want with the letter A. And that easy way is that after won't, we use an infinitive. An infinitive is the base form of the verb, the easiest form. So we use will or won't plus the infinitive. So for example, I will go to your party, or I won't go to your party. We never say to. We say I will go, not I will to go. That's not correct. And we say I won't go, not I won't to go. All right? Now, how do we understand when someone says won't or want? Well, we use won't plus an infinitive without the word to. So I won't go. But if we use the word want, then we say to. So we can say, I want to go, right? I want something. I want to go. But when we say won't, we do not say to. This is an easy way to understand if someone says won't or want. So, like I said, will and won't are how we can use the easy future so that everyone will understand us. It's not correct all the time, but people will understand what we want to say. But more important than the easy future is the correct future, how we can speak about the future correctly in different situations. And I see some people have already been writing some of these rules in the chat. So I think a lot of you have heard these rules before. But we're going to talk about them, and we're going to see a lot of different examples. I'll try to give lots of examples so that we understand exactly what we are talking about. So let's talk about the correct way to speak about the future. First of all, using the future correctly usually means that we have three different forms or three different ways that we can speak about the future. The first way is using will and won't. And I've also added something here, the word shall. So first I want to tell you about the word shall, because shall is a very old word in English. This comes from the time of Shakespeare and even earlier. So today, we don't really use the word shall very often. I'll show you one example where some English speakers might use the word shall, but usually we don't say shall, so it's better just to completely forget this word because we don't need to use it. Just when we see it, or if we hear it somewhere, then shall means the same thing as will. But it's a very old form of this word. Also, when people use the word shall, they can only use the word shall with I or we. So we can only say I shall or we shall. We can never say you shall or he shall or they shall, for example. But again, it's better just to forget the word shall because we don't need to use it. Today, it's not very popular or very common. So let me go to the chat real quick and see the comments. I see someone wrote, hi, I'm new in USA. I have 9 months and my English no good. I understand sometimes I don't know some words. And when I have to talk, it's difficult to speak. Okay, I understand. Well, I would say that first of all, you need to practice with native speakers. And if you're in the USA, you need to make friends who are Americans. Make American friends, practice speaking with them, and you need to make mistakes sometimes so you can learn. On top of that, you can also watch videos online. I have lots of video lessons where you can learn about grammar and pronunciation and vocabulary. So check out my YouTube channel. You can find it at English with Kris Amerikos. And if you search for that in YouTube or Google, you'll find me immediately. I see some people are writing about shall is not used in everyday English today. That's correct. We don't use it today very often at all. Eve wrote, do you have online courses? Yes, I have online courses. You can write me a direct message, or you can send a message to my email, or you can find more information in the description of this video. All right? So, yes, someone asked, I will not is I won't. Yes, that's correct. That is correct. All right, guys, let's get back to our topic. So yeah, we don't use shall very often today, but we do use will and won't. And when do we use them? We're going to talk about that right now. Like I said, when we want to talk about the future correctly, there are different ways that we can do this. There are 3 different forms of future that we want to use. I see that there's a comment. Give me your email, please. My email is in the description of this video. So if you click on the video, you open the video in another window on your browser, then you will see all the information about this video and all the information about me. So my email address is info.krisamerikos@gmail.com. But you can find that in the description of the video. Okay, so the 3 forms of future that we need to know to speak correctly are, first, will, won't, and shall. This is our first category. The second category is to be going to. And we're going to talk about how that's different from will and won't and shall. All right. Let's see, a question. Can we use present to express future? Is it true? We can. And that's actually our third category. The third category or third form of speaking about the future correctly in English is using present continuous or using present simple. Now, I'm going to give you lots and lots and lots of examples of when we use these. So you don't need to write that in the comments yet, but I will talk about the differences between all of these different categories, when we use them, and give lots of examples. Are you guys ready? Let's see. Someone says, make sure to say that it's live. Yes, this is a live video. Someone wrote, Gandalf said, you shall not pass. Yes, and that's a good point, because in a lot of films about, a lot of fantasy films and films about the past, people use the old form of English, and that's why they might say things like that. But if you don't want to sound like you're 100 years old or more, then don't use shall. All right? So again, I want to just say thank you guys for watching. And right now we're going to talk about the future, how to use it correctly. And we're going to talk about how to use will, won't, how to use to be going to, and how to use present continuous and present simple to talk about the future. All right? So we use will for a few different reasons. Actually, we're going to talk about 4 different reasons why we use will. The first reason is promises. So when we want to make a promise, we use will. For example, I will always love you. All right, if we want to say something like this, we need to use will. It's a promise. Let's think of some other examples. Actually, you guys right now in the chat, you can write your examples of other promises of when we use will with a promise. I see one right there. I will help you. I will marry you next month. Good examples, guys. Go ahead and write your examples in the chat right now. And if I see a problem, I'll say something. I promise. Let's see. I don't understand what you mean. Well, what I mean is when we want to promise something in the future, we will do this 100%. We need to say the word will. So, for example, I will do a live video next Tuesday at the same time. I promise. All right? So this is one reason why we might use will to make a promise. Another reason why we might use will or won't is to make a prediction. And what is a prediction? Some people might not know this word. Maybe you know a famous person in history. His name is Nostradamus. And Nostradamus made lots of predictions. He said some things that will happen in the future. So when we talk about predictions, we can use will. I see a question. It will rain. Is that a prediction? Yes, that is a prediction. Very good. That's a good example. Here's another example. The world will end in 2020. Or we can say, the world will end in the year 2020. I see a good question in the chat. Will is like 100%? Well, actually, it's not 100%, because when we talk about the future is never 100%, right? But will is very close to 100%. And actually, we will talk about all of the different categories and their percent, how sure we are about those things a little later in this video. All right? So the world will end in 2020. This is a prediction. Another reason why we might use will or won't, usually will, is for offers to help. Offers to help. So we think somebody needs our help, and we offer this help to them. We want to help them. So for this, there are some different ways that we might say things. For example, I'll open the door for you. Maybe I see someone who has lots of things in their hands and they can't open the door, or I think that it will be difficult for them to open the door, right? Then I can say, I'll open the door for you. And this isn't really a question, but this is an offer to help. Sometimes when I see someone carrying some heavy things, maybe if there's a girl who is having trouble carrying something very heavy, I can say, I'll help you with that, or I'll take that, or I'll carry that for you. So this is an offer to help. We want to help this person, and we're saying it not as a question, but just as a sentence. I'll open the door for you. Now, I told you before that we don't really use shall today. But some people in some places still use shall for offers to help. So instead of I'll open the door for you, they might say, shall I open the door for you? This is one of the only times that we use shall today. And in American English, we don't say this. We might actually change the word shall and say should. So an American person would say, should I open the door for you? Or I'll open the door for you. But we don't usually say shall. However, in other countries where people speak English, they might say, shall I open the door for you? This is okay. The last reason that we use will or won't is for instant decisions. And I saw some people in the chat writing fast decisions or rapid decisions, things like that. It's the same idea. An instant decision is a fast decision. So let's see, what is a good example of this? We might say, I'll have a glass of wine and an 8-ounce steak. I'll have a glass of wine and an 8-ounce steak. Yeah, so this is a good example of an instant decision. Just imagine that you're at a restaurant and the waiter comes to you and says, what would you like? What would you like to order? And you can say, I know. I just decided. Instant decision. I'll have a glass of wine and an 8-ounce steak. So this is the reason why we might use will or won't for an instant decision. So you guys, write some more examples of instant decisions in the chat right now, and I will check them and make sure that it's okay. And I see some other questions here. Can I watch this video again? You can absolutely watch this video again. This video will be on my YouTube channel. This video will be on my page on Facebook. This video will be in my group on Facebook. And this video will be in the English is Fun group on Facebook also. So there will be lots of places to watch it. And, you know, probably if you look on Google or YouTube later for the name of this video, which is how to talk about the future, and if you search for my name, Kris Amerikos, then you'll probably find it very easily. So yeah, you'll have this video forever. Let's see, some examples here. I won't have a drink. Yeah, maybe we just decided that I don't want a drink, and we can say I won't have a drink. Great, let's see. I'll go with you to the party. Good example also. So these are all examples of instant decisions, and these are also examples of will and won't. So again, when do we use will and won't? We use them for promises. We use them for predictions. We use them for offers to help. And we use them for instant decisions. So yeah, those are the reasons that we use will or won't correctly. Remember that right now we're talking about using it correctly. We can use will and won't for any situation about the future, just for someone to understand us. That's the easy future. But if we want to use it correctly, there are only these reasons why we use will and won't. And actually, we don't really use will and won't as often as other future forms. And let's take a look at that. Another form that we use is to be going to. To be going to is another form of the future, another way that we can speak about the future. And this is one of the most commonly used forms of the future. We use this one more than using will and won't. Okay? So one of the reasons why we use going to is to speak about plans. This is the main reason. And think about it, guys. Usually, when we talk about the future, we're talking about plans. So we really need to use this a lot. So let's remember that it's to be plus going to. All right, so you can say I am going to, or he is going to, or you are going to. And then we use the infinitive, or the form of the verb. And we don't need to use to again. We already said to. So I am going to wait. He is going to come. All right? So we use going to about plans. And especially if we're going to use another verb, we can say going to plus a verb. So the one thing that I tell all my students, and I think it's very funny, and a lot of them think it's funny too, is how it sounds to a native speaker like me, someone who's been speaking English all their life, how it sounds to me when someone uses will or won't about plans. Because it sounds very strange. It doesn't sound natural if we say will or won't about our plans. Instead, we need to use going to. When we use will and won't about plans, we sound like a robot. Really, guys, it sounds like a robot. Just imagine, like, I will go to the party. I will come home early. I will see you tomorrow. Guys, don't sound like a robot. That's not how you should speak English. All right? We need to sound more natural. Right now, we're talking about speaking English correctly. That's not correct. When we use will and won't about plans, we sound like a robot. So don't sound like a robot, guys. Another example of using it for plans is, I'm going to visit my grandma. Grandma means grandmother. So when we're talking about our plans, we need to remember to use going to. That's it. We never use will or won't about plans. We can also use we can also use going to. We're talking about going to now, right? We can also use going to to talk about predictions. So you guys might remember that when we talked about will and won't, we said that we can use will and won't about predictions. And that's true. We can use both will and won't and to be going to about predictions. All right? So there's really no difference between will and won't and going to when we speak about predictions. All of our examples from before, like it will rain, that was a prediction, right? We can also use going to talk about this prediction. Like, it's going to rain tomorrow. Not it's going to be raining, that's a different form, but it would be easier and better to say it's going to rain. All right? So sometimes people are confused. They say, well, how can will and won't be about predictions, and how can going to be about predictions, and there's no difference? How is that possible? Well, it's possible because sometimes we use will and won't about more serious predictions. So if you remember my example, the world will end in 2020. All right? So that's a very serious prediction. But if we say it's going to rain tomorrow, it's not a very serious prediction. So let's think of it like that, all right? Now, we talked about two different forms so far, will and won't, and to be going to. And let's review again. We can use will and won't about promises. We can use will and won't about predictions. We can use will and won't about offers to help. We can use will and won't about instant decisions. But we only use going to about plans and about predictions. So those are the rules. We need to remember not to use will and won't about plans. If we do that, we sound like a robot. All right. Next, the third category of speaking about the future correctly. We use present continuous to speak about the future in a different way. So I said before that we can use present continuous or present simple, and this is our third category. We use present continuous when we're talking about arrangements, okay? Arrangements are like plans, but plans that other people agreed on. So, we agreed to meet at 8 o'clock this evening. I can say, we are meeting at 8 o'clock because we have an arrangement. Someone agreed to this, and we both need to be there. For example, I'm flying to Thailand tomorrow. This is an arrangement. This is a plan that, I had to agree with the airline company. And I see a question here about so far, and it looks like Diana has already answered. That's awesome, and she's correct. Diana, very good. When we use the phrase so far, it means until now. Very good. We often use so far with the present perfect tense. Great, so talking about future, we use present continuous about arrangements, but we use present simple about schedules or timetables or whatever you want to call it. So present simple about schedules or timetables. Now you might be thinking, well, a lot of things can be a schedule or a timetable, and that's true. But especially when it's a very strict timetable or schedule, then we will use present simple. For example, the train arrives in 2 hours. All right, we don't say the train is arriving in 2 hours. We don't say the train is going to arrive in 2 hours. We don't say the train will arrive in 2 hours. Some of those we can say, they're correct, but the most correct to say is present simple. The train arrives in 2 hours. All right, guys? So again, we use will and won't about promises. We use will and won't about predictions. We use will and won't about offers to help. We use will and won't about instant decisions. That's all about will and won't. We use to be going to about plans. That's very, very important. And we use to be going to about predictions. Then we use present continuous about arrangements, and we use present simple about schedules. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's a lot of information. And we need to try to remember all of it and use it. And the best way to remember it and use it is, well, to use it. You need to practice this in speech with other people, okay? It's very, very important. I also understand that some people might be confused about what I'm saying about schedules, but this is American English pronunciation. We say schedules, okay, with the k sound, schedules. But in British English, this word is pronounced schedules with the sh sound, schedules. Both of them are correct. Just people in one country use one pronunciation and people in a different country use a different pronunciation. So, moving forward, we also need to talk about something called future time clauses. Now, guys, I told you already from the very, very beginning of this lesson that we're going to talk about the future in several different steps. We talked about the easy future. That was when we just use will and won't for everything. It's not always correct, but people will always understand us. After that, we talked about correct future, the correct way to speak about the future in English. And we talked about will and won't. We talked about to be going to. And we talked about present continuous and present simple, those three categories. But now we also want to talk about future time clauses. And basically, this means there are some words and some phrases, and after these words and phrases, we need to say present tense, not future. But we are speaking about the future. I know, that's confusing, right? To speak about the future, we need to use the present, but we only do this after specific words. All right, so that's our rule. After these words and phrases, we say present, not future. And right now, I will tell you which words I'm talking about. Here's the big list of those words. And this is not a complete list, but this shows you a lot of the examples of which words we use present after when we talk about the future. So, the first one is if. After if, we don't say future when we're talking about the future. We use present. Like, if I see him, I will tell him. Okay, now you might be thinking, but Kris, you said will. Yes, I said will because it's in the second part of the sentence. Usually the sentences that use these words about the future have two parts or two clauses. So in my first clause, I said, if I see him. So after the word if, I use the verb to see in present tense, not future. But we understand that I'm talking about the future. So if I see him, I will tell him. and I see a comment, this is first conditional, right? Yes, this is also called first conditional. But first conditional always uses if. And this rule about future time clauses uses lots of different words and phrases, like the ones you see right now on the screen. So the next one, when. We can say, when I see him, I will tell him. All right? Or let's use the next one, before or after. We can say, before I leave work, I will call you. All right? So after the word before, we use present tense. Before I leave, not before I will leave, because after before, we use present, not future, to speak about the future. We could also say after I leave work, I will tell you, or I will call you. All right? Now, the next two words, as and while, they're almost the same thing. They mean that two things happen at the same time. So we can say, while I talk to him, I will send you a message, for example. Again, after these words, we use present tense to speak about the future. Great, let's see some of the comments in the chat. Lesson is very useful, thank you. Thank you for watching today, and make sure that you come back next week. Every week I do a live video right here. The same thing, the same way, same presentation, just about different topics each week. And the video starts each week on Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. if you're in New York, or 8:30 p.m. if you're in Moscow. And if you're anywhere else in the world, then you can find what that will be in your time zone. Great. So let's go back, and we also have some other words that after these words, we need to use present, not future. One of these is the word until. Now, until always means that something stops. We need to remember that about until. Until does not just mean before. Till means that something happens and happens and happens, and then it stops. Until shows us when it stops. So, for example, we could say, I work until 5 o'clock. I work until 5 o'clock. This means I work and I work and I work, and at 5 o'clock, I stop working. Very important. Great. So another example, another word that uses present instead of future is in case. All right? In case. And in case means that we need to be prepared for something. This thing might not happen, but we are prepared. So for example, I could say, I have an umbrella in case it rains. It's not correct to say I have an umbrella in case it will rain. It's not correct, guys. Don't say that. We need to say in case it rains, because after in case, we need to use present when we're talking about the future. Another example, as long as. As long as basically means only if. Okay, we can think about this phrase. As long as means the same thing as only if. For example, I'll go to the cinema as long as you go. Only if you go to the cinema, then I will go to the cinema. All right? So we can see here there are two parts of this sentence. The first part is in the future. I will go to the cinema. And then the second part has our special future time clause or future time phrase, as long as. So as long as you go, present tense. But we're speaking about the future. Great. And one more example, using the word unless. Now, a lot of people don't know what this word means. So unless means only if, and then whatever we say, not. So it's like the opposite of as long as. Remember, as long as means only if. And unless means only if, not. Now, people who are good at math or maybe programming, maybe you can understand it in another way. As long as means only if A, then B. And unless means only if A, then not B. Okay? Maybe that helps you understand a little bit more. Let's look at an example of this. I'll go to the party unless she goes. So if she goes to the party, I will not go. That's what it means. Great. I'm going to go back to the comments. The ideas are very similar in Portuguese. That's great. It's great when languages are very similar. You'll find that a lot of languages in Europe are very similar because they're all part of the Indo-European language group or language family. So, for example, Russian, French, Italian, Spanish, English, German, and even some other languages like Persian, they are all very similar. They have a lot of similar concepts and a lot of similar structure. So it's easier for people who speak these languages to learn another language from this group. Great. So guys, we've talked so far about easy future when we just use will or won't. It's not correct all the time. It's usually not correct, but everyone will understand us. Then we talked about correct future, when we can use will and won't, when we can use to be going to, and when we can use present continuous or present simple. And we just talked about future time clauses or future time phrases. And after these special phrases, we don't say future when we want to speak about the future. We use present tense. Now we have about 10 minutes left. And for those of you who maybe already know this information, but you've been just watching us today and refreshing your English, and you already know all this stuff, or you think you know all this stuff already, right now I'm going to talk about advanced future. So ways that people speak about the future that we don't use them a lot, but sometimes people say this. And this is important to understand because it means something a little different than just using the future. So the first part of advanced future that I want to talk about is future continuous. And I know this big text just popped up on your screen, so you're trying to read it. But when we use future continuous, we do this to talk about things that will happen in the future that are not planned or that are not arranged. All right? So what that means is that we usually say future continuous. By the way, an example of future continuous is I will be going. So we use will plus be plus the verb with ing or gerund. So I will be going, I will be speaking, I will be doing, things like that. And so what we need to do is use future continuous when we talk about something that will be easy to do in the future. For example, let's say I have a plan to go to New York City. And my friend says, Kris, next time you see your friend John, who lives in New York City, can you give him this document? And I say, sure, it's easy for me. I will be going to New York City in 2 days. So when I say I will be going to New York City, it means that I already have a plan that makes this action or this request from my friend easy. It will be very easy for me to do this because it works with my plan. That's what future continuous means, and that's why we use it sometimes. Remember, this is advanced future, so we don't use this all the time. Another example would be, I'll be meeting up with Sarah tomorrow. So it's easy for me to say hi to Sarah from you because I'll be meeting up with her tomorrow. It's already my plan, and my plan makes it easy to do what you want. Another way, another part of advanced future is when we talk about, when we use the phrase due to. We can say, we are due to arrive in 20 minutes. Now, this is a little bit more formal than saying we are arriving in 20 minutes or we're going to arrive in 20 minutes. Okay, it's a little more formal, so we don't use it very often. Another example of a formal structure is to be about to. Actually, this one is not so formal, and we use it sometimes. And this means that it will happen very soon. So for example, we could say, we are about to leave our house. We are about to leave our house. This means we will leave our house very, very soon. Maybe I'm on the phone. Maybe I'm walking out of my house and someone calls me. I say, hey, where are you? I say, I'm about to leave my house. It means I'm already in the process. It will happen very, very soon, in the next few seconds or minutes. Great. And the last part of advanced future that I want to tell you about today is when we use to be plus to plus the infinitive. And this is very formal, very official plans. So a good example of this is, the Queen is to visit New York next week. Yes, the Queen is to visit. This probably makes your mind go like, Kris, what are you doing to us? Because it's a little confusing, right? Well, this is very formal, very official, and we don't use it very often. But this is advanced future. So guys, that was the last thing that I wanted to tell you about, but that doesn't mean that the video is over, because I promised that I would tell you more about the correct future and how we can understand what is the real difference in meaning between will and won't, to be going to, and present continuous or present simple. So the real difference is, when we say going to, this is just a plan. All right, just a plan, and plans change. So if I say, I'm going to come to your party on Thursday, and then on Thursday I'm not at your party, and you call and you say, Kris, where are you? You said you were going to come to my party. And I say, I was going to come to your party, but now I'm not going to come to your party. See, my plans changed. So going to is maybe, it's not very strong as far as what will happen. It's not 100%, definitely. When we use will and won't, this is stronger because it's a promise. But again, nobody knows the future. So we can't say that it's 100%. Maybe it's like 95%. And then when we use present continuous and present simple, this is actually the strongest form, because this means that our plan is already true now. If we say, I'm visiting my grandma tomorrow, then this means that this is already my plan. My plan is already real. It's now. It's not in the future. So this is much stronger. All right, so if we want to understand which one is the strongest, it's present continuous or present simple, then will or won't, and then to be going to. So guys, thanks again. Thanks so much for watching this video with me. And thanks for coming today and paying attention to this lesson. I hope that it really helped you in your English learning. And if you want to get in touch with me, please don't be afraid to send me a message on Facebook. or go to my Facebook group. You can find it just by searching for English with Kris Amerikos. You can also find me on YouTube, where I put out a video every day, a new video every day on YouTube and on my channel on Telegram. So go there and subscribe and make sure that you watch all the videos. They will really help you. If you're interested in lessons or courses or something like that, just send me a message on Facebook, or you can send a message to my email. My email is info.krisamerikos@gmail.com. And guys, you can find all the information about how to contact me and about all my videos and everything that I do in the description of this video. So if you click the video, if you're watching the video in a group or on a page right now, if you click the video, then it'll open in a new window and you'll see the description of this video. And you'll find everything you need to know about me there. And if you haven't done it already, you need to go to the English is Fun group and press like so that you don't miss anything. All right, guys? Thanks again for watching. And the next video will be next Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. New York time or at 8:30 p.m. Moscow time. Okay, guys, it's been great. It's been fun. And make sure you come back next time. See you then.